And I pull him out there, and I'm like, this is what we come back here for. And this guy's holding the camera now. He's going, he can't believe this is happening. He's just shaking his head, holding the camera still. And I said, so I fish a little bit more, and it's like, I throw back a 5-pounder for that 6-pounder. And now I'm like, I know that this, I've caught one, and now I'm fishing around a little bit, and it's like I'm supposed to go back to the bridge. I didn't feel like I was going to catch anymore, and I kept trying, and finally said, go back to the bridge. So I go back, pull back up, nobody's there, nobody's fishing it. The fish are still stacked. I pull up and start right back catching them again. I cull a few more, culls, catch a few more like 5-pounders, 4.5s, and just unreal. So now Robbie Floyd gets in the boat, the announcer guy, the ride in. And he said, Randy, how you might have 30 pounds. I'm like, man, don't say that. I don't think I got 30 pounds. I think I got 28 pounds. I can't guess them that good when they're that big. You don't catch them like that very often. And so I run in, and I pull up at the ramp. Now Davey Height's doing the interviews. He comes and gets in my boat, starts talking to me, and I can just tell all the buzz was going on. And I'm like, now I'm starting to finally think, well, man, I might have a chance to win this thing. I didn't think about it until now, so now I'm getting pretty nervous and pretty sick feeling. And I get in the truck, and I hadn't eaten all day. My wife's giving me, I got a bologna sandwich. I ate bologna sandwiches before I won the Classic. Now I ate bologna and cheese. And so I started eating my bologna sandwich, and I was like, Robin, what's the bass track say? I can't see the bass track all day. So they're interviewing me like I know I had a great day, but do I have a chance to win? She said, you really want to know? I said, yeah. She said, well, you've been leading all day. I said, really? Leading? And then my appetite was gone. I couldn't hardly even swallow that last bite. And so now I'm driving back, and I'm I'm in tears because I'm the emotion that goes into the Classic, and I'm following Randall Tharp on the road on the truck, and I'm behind him going this hour and 20 minutes, longest ride of your life. It's like going to your execution because you don't know what's about to happen. And I'm following Randall Tharp on the highway, and he's going too slow, and I'm fired up. I'm ready to get to the arena before something happens, and I break down or have a wreck or something. I got all this fish in my life, and I'm wanting to pass him, but my wife won't let me pass him. She said, no, don't pass him. That would be rude. Don't pass him. And so we talked about that later. We joked about it. And so I'm riding, and we get in there, and usually in the Classic, they don't let you weigh in until the end if you've got a chance to win, right? That's the way every Classic I've ever been to in my life. The only guys that have a chance to win are the last 5 guys to weigh in. So I pull in there, and they know what I've done. Looked at my fish, and they know I've got about what I've got. And so all of a sudden they call, and they say, hey, pull Howell in. He's going in now. So they rush me in there, and I'm like, daggone, what's wrong? They're taking me in. I don't need that. I said, why am I weighing in so early? I don't know. Go. So they go, and they pull me out. And if you saw the show, I'm down there trying to put my fish in the bag before I even go through the tunnel. I come through the tunnel, and I'm not even ready to stand up and wave at anybody because I'm trying to put my fish in the bag. I look like a rookie trying to hear doing all this stuff. And so I jump out, and I pull my bag out. When I pull that bag out, I felt it, and I said, good gosh, that's a lot of fish. I said to myself. And when I brought them up to Mercer, and he put them on the scale, they looked really big laying up there. He said, 29 pounds, 2 ounces. And so everybody roared, all the people in there were just roaring, and it was just loud, it was exciting, but still, I'm like, why am I weighing in so early? I couldn't ask him that in front of everybody. But so I talk about how great the day was and all that. And so he said, well, we're going to bring you back out and put you on the hot seat later, if you're still standing. So I go on. So they take me into the back now and put me in a room all by myself. Nobody to interview me, nobody in there at all. And they just said, here you go, here's some Diet Mountain Dew and some water. And, I'm like, okay. So I'm sitting there twiddling my thumbs. I'm trying to get the weigh in on my phone. And they said, you can't watch it. You just got to sit here. So I sit back there, and finally they send Mark Zona in there and Tommy Sanders because they knew I was the basket case. So they come in there, and they start trying to talk about the day. And Mark Zona gets me to play left-handed girl throw games, and he calls it, y'all might have saw that. So we do all this crazy stuff. So they were passing the time away for me. So all of a sudden now they say, oh, it's time to go. Come on. So they pull me out. I go to the door. They're still roaring in there, and the Super 6 is getting ready to weigh in. Now I'm still leading. So they said, well, you're going to go and get on the hot seat, and one of these 6 guys has got to knock you out. I said, okay. So right as I go through there, Davey Heights comes walking by, And I know he's been in everybody's boat that had a chance to win. I said, well, what? I said, hey, tell me before I go out there, man, do I have a chance to win, or am I going to get my heart broken so I know? He's like, well, he shook his head and he said, it's going to be close. And then I said, well, who's got him? Who's got him? He said, well, I said, Stark got him or it's Evers? And he's like, well, I think you got them. He said, the one you got to worry about is Mueller. I said, who's Mueller? Who's Mueller? I'm like, who is Mueller? He said, he's the guy that had 32 pounds yesterday. I said, oh gosh, I got sick again. And so I go out and I sit down on the stage, and here comes the guys, the first one, and then the next one was Mueller. So I didn't know who he was, but I got to know him really quick. And so he comes out, and Dave Mercer's got this thing in his ear, and they're telling him stuff on the stage from the back. And Mueller gets the fish out of his bag, and I'm watching him like for eternity putting these big bass in his bag. And he gets them out and puts them on the stage, and it looked like 40 pounds. I mean, they looked huge. And Mercer says, all right, Randy, Paul Mueller needs 25 pounds, 2 ounces to take the lead. And I'm like sitting there, he says, 24 pounds, and he turns and looks at me, and his eyes are like this big, Dave Mercer. And so basically when I saw his eyes look at me like that, that was like he said, you just won the Classic. And so that's when he looked at me, and I'm like, oh man, then I got really sick again. And they're telling me to drink this Diet Mountain Dew, please, because they're sponsoring the Classic. And then so I'm drinking this, and it's a nasty tasting stuff. Man. And I'm chasing it with water, and I'm drinking Diet Mountain Dew, and I'm chasing it with water, and I'm going back, and I'm crying, I got snot all over my face and my hand. And I'm sitting here about to win the Classic, and I had a better image of what this would be like, one day. I would really be prepared for this moment, and I wasn't. And so now, Randall Tharp's got to come through, and Evers has got to come through. But I then had a feeling like, hey, I think it's going to happen. It's just too many good things, have happened all day. It's been too much perfect stuff all day has happened. It's never happened before. It's got to be. Why would the Lord let all this great stuff happen and then pull the rug out from me at the end? That's kind of what I thought. And so sure enough, they weighed in, and Evers had to have 20 pounds. He had to have 20 pounds and change. And everybody knows Evers that fishes out there with him. Whatever he says, you add 5 pounds to it. All right. Skeet Reese, add 3.5 pounds to it. And so he says they said he had 14 pounds. So he gets up there, and I'm watching him put on the scale. I'm thinking that's more than 14 pounds. And they got me standing there, and I'm looking there, and I'm waiting for them numbers to hurry up and register. And it's got to say 20 pounds. Anything less, I know I'm safe. And it popped up 18, 13, or whatever. And then it was like everything went blurry, and it kind of like the movies, where you feel like you're just in a fog, and you're like up in the air looking down, and you hear all the noise and all the stuff, and it was just crazy. And then it's like all of a sudden I won the Classic. I didn't have time to prepare for it, didn't have time to think about it, and I didn't even know it was going to happen. And that's what makes the whole story, I guess, so special. Because I said for a long time, I wish I had known that I was going to win, but if I look back at it, I probably would have messed it up somehow if I'd have known I was going to win. If somebody had hollered and told me I was leading that day, who knows, I might have spun out and done something stupid, but I didn't know. And that's why if we could ever touch that day of perfection, more than one time, that's the most special feeling. It makes you forget about all the bad days that you ever have fishing. You have plenty of blank days, bad tournaments, but that one day that you catch them like that is what we all dream about, we all live for. So then it just happened to happen on my biggest day ever on the Bassmaster Classic, and that's why it's such a blessing because of that. Got so much adrenaline pumping, I'm dry mouth from just thinking about that story again. But so anyway, it comes down to what time did I start? Okay, I'm good. All right, I thought I started at 1 o'clock. I'm like, good gosh, that's an hour and 20 minutes. No, it hasn't been that long. It's been 50 minutes. Y'all are all right. Still a sale going on when you get up. It's all right. But so the moral of the story, though, that's the dream, that's the story, and that's how it all happened. But the tackle and the fishing and the baits and the way it all happened that day made a difference. I told the truth in my interviews. I told the truth in everything I did because I used the Rapala DT6 for the first hour and a half, and I caught 21 or 22 pounds on it. And they asked me in the interviews, they asked me secretly that I want to not name the bait, that I want to call it an unnamed crankbait because I'm sponsored by Livingston. I said, No, I mean, I'm gonna tell this. That's what I called them on. I'll tell you what I called them on. I would have had a nice top 5 finish if that's all the bait I had thrown. But the difference was made when I made that change, and it's all about making a change to have better success in fishing. When you make that right decision to make that move to go somewhere else, you listen to that gut instinct, or you make that move to change to a different bait. And that's the deal that day. And it worked out great for me all the way around, but it worked out great because of the tackle, of the bait, because who would have ever known, I could actually win the classic, but then to win it on a bait that we'd already been working on to try to bring out to be, not supposed to be in a signature series bait. It's supposed to just be a crankbait from Livingston. This actually, Jerry Rago actually started helping Livingston early on and helped some of the early designs, and Rago is the one that originally started this lip design. I told him I wanted something that had that similar bagling, that bagling look to it, where the lip starts out tapered and then it gets real big on the end, so it has that pull point down, so it goes down and hunts real wide and it hits and backs out of stuff. And that's what those old DB2s and stuff, you could reel them down in trees and back them out of trees and rocks. Well, that was the design of this lip. And so the electronic bait fish sound, I want to tell you guys, it's not your gimmick, it's not bull. I mean, I got them to take the lights, the red lights out of the Livingston baits when I started working for them. But what convinced me of sound being a big deal, I've always been a big supporter of the Hydro Wave, and back years ago the B.A.S.S, and I know that the bait fish, the sounds in the water trigger bait fish and trigger fish to get active. And that's kind of when I first saw Livingston crankbait at a seminar 2.5 years ago. Saw the guy, didn't know who they were, never heard of it, and I was at a Bass Pro Shops tank seminar, and I was coming up after him. And this guy wasn't even a pro, he was just a guy that